we go. All right, welcome. We are here for the gift class from Innerglowing Quantum Academy, Transcending Trauma by Graceful Initiation. And I'm Saeri, Wilde. And so I'm going to begin sharing my screen for the slides, which I actually am going through a slide initiation today. And so the people who are here live have gotten to see me navigate it with grace, even though it's wobbly. And I will say I felt some intensity, some anticipation prior to this meeting that was like nervousness that in the past, in the way that I would deal with that feeling would have not been graceful. So yeah, this works. I'm here to live it and teach it. So I'm going to navigate through here, sharing my screen. And if Tom, you would let me know. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's like all over the place. Da, 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 da. Do you see the slide presentation? I can't hear anybody.
Looks like he's muted. No, we can't.
Oh, okay. You cannot see it?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Kai. I guess we're gonna maybe have an opportunity to do a little video editing at some point. So along with that initiation witness thing, I want to welcome you into your breath here. Anywhere where you may be getting lit up in your body and your mind about what I'm going through right now. So just presence with yourself and do what you need to do. And you may notice in this time that and I'm doing like 3 things at once. You may notice in this time that there's something that you actually need that will really support you. And it might be shifting in your chair, and it might be going and getting a pen and paper or that kind of thing, a glass of water. And so I want to invite you to just take care of yourself right now as I am working this out. Okay. Share device audio.
It looks like you're there.
Okay. You see the slide?
Now I'm seeing your desktop. Now the slide. Yep, you got it.
Okay, here we go. Goody, goody. On this device. Okay, welcome. This is Transcending Trauma by Initiation with Grace, hosted by Innerglowing Quantum Academy. And we are in open enrollment right now for Becoming the Gift You Are. And so this is a way to experience us, and also just for us, a big part of this is to really share our gifts and let them spill out of the academy, and you know, to serve the layers, the waves of people surrounding us, and also to allow that witness to be seen for our constellation, the people who are here with us, or who are being called in and asking for the connections, are truly our tribe. So who am I? I didn't get the pictures up for this slide, unfortunately. I had some fun ones from when I was pregnant. But right here, this is my my kind of heads up, just like who I am and what I'm bringing to this, and how really this work is me. So in human design, this is a map of my energy system, basically, and I am a heretical investigator, which is the 5-1 splenic projector. I am here to universalize and essentially to be a savior, not in the way that not in like a codependent way, but in a way that my aura actually is a great mirror. I have a great projection field that can be used for empowerment, and I'm on a massive empowerment trip here. I'm also on the left angle cross of individualism. I'm a transpersonal being. Here really to herald a mutation that supports the individual in being who they are, and also the mutations that I bring are meant to support the humans and whatever we are becoming, to essentially survive or thrive is what I'm really into. I have a triple split, so you'll see that I've got 3 islands of definition that are not connected to each other, and it's really quite unique. I mean, everyone's design is, but I find mine to be extra freaky. Each channel, I have 1 channel in each of the circuitries of design. There's collective, individual, and tribal. And just here you can see the descriptions. Channel of abstraction, this is my mind, a mind busy with the consequences of being alive. Channel of initiation, potential to recognize a person's potential for individuation, and when invited, to provide the shock which initiates and empowers them toward it. And this is my heart. This truly is my heart. Channel of transformation, and I think this is kind of perhaps the most individual channel in the tribal circuit. It's kind of freaky, and it brings change, which the tribe tends to not really be welcoming. So it's like the Cinderella channel. It's the rising up in the tribe, carries an energetic potential through which people with talent or ability can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and move out of the social class they were born into. And that's very much what Innerglowing Quantum Academy is about. It's creating this individual support, the support for individuals so that they may maintain their sovereignty and even develop it and become it and shine it, and have tribal support in a way that doesn't ask them to compromise who they are. So Innerglowing Quantum Academy is a school devoted to educating students in themselves. We believe when everyone in the world becomes authentically themselves, the world will evolve into a self-healing spaceship of divine fulfillment. And it starts with you. Yeah, you. I just love that. This is actually, you know, so as a heretic, the key to success for a heretic such as myself is to be practical. And so this is like getting into the woo, but the practical part is really your part, which is becoming who you are. And then we get to find out what happens when we really get to shine. This is our vision statement. We just have been identifying this. So it's inner to outer, we are building a tribe of individuals that are truly bravely themselves, healed from trauma and disrupting patterns of dis-ease for themselves and for all that they touch. Woohoo! I want to say this class, Transcending Trauma, is it really is that you matter. So it's about shifting your perception of your experience to allow for other truth to come to light. So often we have, you know, like we really, with trauma, we are narrowed in on like one narrative that really hurts. And so, but this also is not about denying, bypassing, or even fixing yourself or anyone else. Truly, this teaching is about loving all of it to allow a greater spectrum of experience of who we really are. So our trajectory here, why are you here? Why are you really here? Why are you really here? We're gonna go into that, and that's also the portion where you can, the people who are here live may share in the comments if that works on my initiation, my first experience with slides, so we'll see. I'll also share mine and what I've come to know about myself. We're going to talk about trauma and initiation, that trauma actually is an initiation. It's just like incomplete. So we're defining those. We're going to talk about your becoming. Really let that sink in and receive that, how to honor your life without taking on more trauma. And then talk about watering the seeds with presence. And I got this from my quantum doula teacher, Wapio, and this just really it really pierced my heart with truth. Is she said 98% of wounds just need witness to release and complete, to truly heal. And so we are engaging in this here in Innerglowing Quantum Academy and Becoming the Gift You Are, which is the membership offering within the school. And even just here, you know, by those of you who are here live for this presentation, and those of you watching the replay, there's a way in which, even though we don't see each other, you know, on this video, or we don't hear each other, may not even see the comments if that doesn't work a little bit later, there's a way in which we are connected and communicating here, and you truly can open to receive that witness for your own healing. Okay, so here's an interactive piece that I want to invite you to participate in for yourself right now. So I want to invite you to get into your breath right here as I share what this is. Like, we're going to go through these layers of these two questions. And so you might want to, it can be helpful to write, to, you know, have a pen and paper here to write it down, you know, as it pops into your head. I want you to be like, just uncensored and allow like what pops up, and, you know, you're going to have some opportunities to go through multiple ones. So we're going to take some time to breathe. Here it is. I'm just going to ask you a question, and, you know, if it supports you to actually receive it and feel the frequency, you can go ahead and close your eyes. Why are you here? And whatever context that lands for you the first time, why are you here? And so take note of that first answer. And now, why are you really here? Why are you really here? I'm taking note of that next layer. Why are you really, really, really here? Why are you here? I'm writing that down. We're going to go 2 more layers in, and I want to invite you to let it simplify. Let it get even more simple. You might even get down to 1 word. Why are you here? Why are you really here? So go ahead and write that down for yourself and keep breathing. Notice, did your breath shift as you did this? And also, how's your body feeling? And I'm going to just give it a go to see if anyone would like to share. Ooh, I just gave it away. Why are my sites doing this? Okay, you know what? I am going to skip the sharing for now, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. and I know we're already a little bit behind time, and I would like to be succinct. So, you know, where you are watching this video for the replay, you can comment on YouTube and share if you'd like to share what you came up with. So here's mine. And this is what I believe is true for everyone in their way. I'm here to shine. That's it. And I mean, there's much more that comes from that. But when I really entered into this inquiry for myself, and I actually had already done this meme. And then I went to my coach, Gary Mahler's transformational beach party called Into the Fire. And we had a little kind of meet and greet cocktail hour on the first evening. And we all circled up around a table, and he and Karen Perry asked us this question. And I had the opportunity for Gary to coach me. I think actually we all did, but through my answer, and this is what I arrived at. And there are many, many other words and thoughts and ideas before that. I mean, I even started with, my whole story of like literally how I'd gotten there. And I was actually 10 weeks pregnant at the time. And in a month's time, I would leave my daughter's father due to abuse, which was quite a great shock and initiation for me. So I led with that whole story, but through the inquiry and Gary's powerful presence and the presence of the others there with me, this was it. I'm here to shine. So what is trauma? Trauma is the storage of information in the body that was too much or too fast in the moment it was experienced. So like when an animal experiences trauma, so this is like, say they were being chased and, they're basically like, there's so much information available, but trauma, what happens in the moment of trauma is that your focus is going to narrow down to just the essential information. And so all the other information just kind of gets put on hold. And so it gets stored in the body. And so we are actually meant as animals to, after we experience the shock of trauma, we would go somewhere, you know, when we got to where we were safe, we would shake and we would release it. So it's meant to be released when the stream of information goes back to, quote, normal. There's this, I love this from the Prosperous Coach Tribe, Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler. Slow down to speed up. So that's basically what trauma does for you, is it, you know, it slows time. Actually, so you can even process more information in a short period of time. So if you've ever, I think we've all experienced something like this, where there's some kind of, like, a car accident is a really clear example. You know, if you've ever been in a car accident and then, like, your memory of it is like slow motion, you know, like you experience it in slow motion, that things are moving very quickly. And so this is part of our inherent grace of embodiment, that has to do with our soul pace of perception. So, like, whatever we are being asked to see in these intense moments, you know, our body and our soul work together to pace it in a way that we can receive and perceive what we need to survive. And then this little note down here, trying to control the pace. So we have been in survival for survival by the mind for most of human history. And we have actually moved out of that as our primary survival mechanism. However, the conditioning remains. And so this is where we can create trauma for ourselves. The conditioned mind likes to keep itself employed by vigilantly resisting the pace of the moment. So when things are slow, when we're perceiving things to be slow, the mind wants to speed them up. We need to be busy, you know, and use various motivators like shame and guilt and whatnot. When things are going fast, the mind's like, whoa, 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 not safe, not safe. Let's slow this down. And, you know, that's resistance, right? Like, it's going to try to slow down the pace. Breath determines capacity. So I want to invite you to breathe right now, because I am aware, like, this is a lot of information, and I am really focused on moving through this in a succinct way and not have this take forever, because I mean, this probably will be a journey inside of the Innerglowing Quantum Academy at some point, but there's just so much information here. So go ahead and give yourself permission to receive what you receive here, and let yourself breathe in the way that you need to breathe to really stay in the room here. And, you know, if you can't stay in the room, that's okay too. And you can always come back to this, or if you're watching the replay, you know, pause it and give yourself a moment. And you know, again, I am built for initiation, and that starts with shock. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But you may be already experiencing that just in this large amount of information. Even if you know exactly what I'm talking about, it might even be the realization of something that you really understand, and like, holy shit, like, maybe I'm going to be sharing and, you know, having a really wonky beginning presentation like Saeri someday. So your body naturally releases and integrates your information and energy. Like, your body knows how to do this. Your body and, you know, your energy, your spirit, whatever animates you, they are meant for each other. They've chosen each other. And the mechanism by which they dance is breath. So an anaerobic environment it's an environment that is oxygen free. And so like botulism is something that grows in an anaerobic environment, you know, like canned goods, where there's no oxygen, and I think maybe no light as well, but mostly no oxygen, is where this bacteria can thrive. in farming, you know, invasive species are often low-level life support plants. They thrive in, you know, with low nourishment. And actually, if you raise the nourishment, that is the true way to get rid of invasive species, is to raise the nutrition level of the soil, because those lower life support plants will not be able to thrive there anymore. And the plants that will be able to thrive are the ones who can, you know, live on higher nutrition. Wow, that's a whole class in itself I would love to talk about. But just to say, like, here's what I see with the mind, is that to control the mind will actually shut down the breath, because the thoughts are like a low level life support plant. Like, the thoughts can thrive with very little breath, but then when you begin to have a more nourishing breath that is actually more in alignment with what you're here for, you know, body and spirit, those thoughts are not able to survive and thrive. And so we'll have this experience when we come into a more nourishing breath, that our mind seems to go blank, and that can freak out the mind. And so, and also what happens, we start to feel more, which is like the essential, what's the word? It's the baseline, it's the source of our perception of our truth, is are really truly the sensations, our senses. So our senses start to turn up, and the mind through trauma programming will be scared of those things and want to control them, and so shut down our breath. So breathing is really the bravest and most effective thing you can do in this work. If there's one thing you come away from this with, it is to, you know, explore different qualities of breath, and even, you know, breathe when you feel like you can't breathe. What is initiation? Initiation is a lot of information at once. So that's like the same thing as, you know, the trauma definition. It's the first time something happens. It's a sudden expansion of awareness. It is the culmination of development, marking the next stage. A rite of passage, a mutation. So I want to talk about the not self here. So in human design, we recognize that, you know, what's like, see, here's my chart here. What's colored in is me. And I went over that in the beginning, you know, the keynotes of my 3 channels that I have that create, you know, six centers that are defined. That is me. Now, what's white is where I take in the other and I amplify it. That's not mine, but I experience it in a really unique way. I get to taste all these different flavors. So the mind, the survival mind, is very much working out of the not self. And so there's not self, which we tend to describe in human design as like when you are believing that it's you and your mind is trying to take control of what you are not. and try to control who you are to, you know, allow for what you are not. That is getting lost in the matrix. Or what you can do in these centers, where you get to experience the other, and you get to experience the transits going on when they're going on in a really open way, you can become wise for the other, and that is for the other. It's not for you to try to fix in your own being. It's for you to roll with. So what I see happens is that the not self mind is trying to create artificial bridging of our openness, is trying to create a solidness where there is no solidness, where there is rather like, you know, a vortex. You know, the not self survival mind is trying to create a bridge. And what really happens is that it's kind of like all the things that we pick up from other people, we kind of tend to collect them like garbage and try to like build them up, and they become this kind of residue inside our body. And so when we get to the point of becoming aware of that, like, oh my gosh, I'm carrying some baggage that isn't mine, we tend to think of it as like taking out the garbage, you know, like I got to get rid of this. I want to banish it from my system. But, you know, this just came through with my coach today, Allison Crow, on her, on a business call she was holding for our group in Soulful Success, is, I said this, and I don't know exactly how I said it, so I tried to rephrase it, but essentially, like, it's not taking out the garbage. It is actually unleashing your wisdom in service to the other, rather than hoarding it for ourselves, trying to make it like something solid and keep it for ourselves and our systems, which really is only just creating a false sense of security. And it only works for so long, you know, like, as you know, as you get into adulthood, you're like, holy shit, this was kind of working for me, like, for however many years, but like now it's a real problem. it's it is actually your gifts. It is your potential wisdom. And if you're willing to go through embodying who you are, which will release who you are not, that is the process of becoming a gift. So when we are just carrying around all this stuff in our system, we are actually just walking trigger zones, and we're kind of amping up. I hope these alerts aren't showing, but I think they probably are. We're actually amping up. We're like, the tension, the force, the momentum is building behind the initiation that will actually release that. And that can feel even more scary, right? Because the mind is like, oh my gosh, like, I can't, how do I start now? Because if I start to release this, like, I might like just disappear or die or something. Like, it might be too much for me. So I want to say right here, like, you know, this is your life. This is your becoming. And whatever you sense about yourself, and, you know, you may or may not like have pictures or words or colors or ideas or thoughts about that yet, but I welcome you to just sense it right now. Just touch it even with your mind. Feel that connection to your North Star of your truth and your mission or your process, or how your example, whatever it is you're here to be. Like, this is what it's all about. And your capacity to receive and release determines the expression of that on earth. This picture is me, pregnant, obviously. And I wanted to put this in here. I'm really so proud of this picture. I didn't know this was going to happen. I feel emotional sharing this with you, that this was a moment in time when I was both on what I call the hell train and the light rail. I was simultaneously creating like my biggest nightmares and also my biggest dreams, and very courageously, and to bring my daughter into the world. And I'm sitting here in a stream at Wilbur Hot Springs in Northern California, just really giving to myself here and recognizing myself. All right, so here's the meat of this. The sequence of initiation. To understand that, so initiation is something new. So we're not going to know what it is, but we can know that it happens and that it's happening a lot in our time. We can recognize even by looking back, you know, probably even over the last week, you may have gone through an initiation. You may have had something new surprise you. And this is really accelerating in our time. Ooh. I don't know why it won't let me go back when it does that, but okay. So the sequence is shock, integrate, prepare. Now, I want to say that for me, like, especially being someone who carries shock, and I carry it in my incarnation cross, which is 70% of my design. So I am designed to shock and be shocked. And boy, is that ever true. When I first came to this information, in the word shock, that actually shocked me and it triggered me, and I didn't really like it, and I had a really hard time with it. And so one of the ways that I worked with it to really receive this as the gift of me is the word surprise. Like that's like lighter, right? Like, and so it truly can be a surprise. It can be like, whoa, like, and I think that's really the higher form of practicing, being aware of the sequence, and being present to when you are in, each of these phases. That is the fruit of it. That is the grace, is that it can, when you start to be like, oh, this is a surprise. But even before you are there, you might be like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. This seems like such a shit show. um, you can kind of like, just give yourself a little soothing balm and be like, oh, but what if it's just surprising, just for a sweet little reframe. So shock, also surprise. The mechanics of this, higher frequency is injected into the body. Now, I also just saw this morning, that like, I think also the shock can be that a lower frequency hits us really strongly, and it wakes up the higher frequency that's maybe been dormant or been locked up inside of us, from all we've been collecting, trying to bridge our openness. So it can seem to be something really, really fucked up, basically. And so it can be that shock is what actually jolts and sparks awake what's inside of us. But I also see right now that I'm speaking of it, that it kind of like, it sends a signal to that North Star, and it draws that injection of spirit into our body. And so again, this is where the breath is like so important. If you train yourself to breathe and start working with this when you're having smaller degrees of intensity, then I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but you'll be more prepared for, these big injections, these big shocks that happen, so that you can actually allow it. And then it starts to circulate and vibrate through your system. So it will, what is yours, this new injection, then starts to, go around in your system, and it's going to be right next to what you've been carrying for however long you've been carrying it. And it's going to rattle it. It's going to release it into your system. So, anywhere there's like, buildup or like calcification or residue or whatever, that, maybe it was, you were able to tolerate it all kind of like, just caking the walls of your life force channels. Well, and a shock is designed to break that up, right? And you can have like a detox effect. So this begins and initiates a detox effect. Integrate. This is the next phase in the sequence. So the detox effect continues, and depending on how much you've done, will kind of determine how you have how graceful you may experience this, or how intense or how painful it may be. Literally addressing the body, detoxing the body can really help too. So what is going on is that a new normal is being established. The frequencies are making a home inside of your body by taking up the new spaces. So the shock started to create the space, and the detox is then, as it circulates, it's detoxing, and so things are starting to be released from your system, and that creates space. And then the new energy comes in and starts to, like get comfortable, gets acquainted with the frequencies that are resonating and are harmonizing in your system. prepare. So this is when it's like, so the integration can be really intense. You know, that's where we can just feel like we're really slogging through a fiery shit swamp. And then, you know, it kind of starts to wind down, and it might even seem like it's over, and you just might be kind of feel like you're in a heap and you're exhausted, and oh, thank goodness that's over. So this is where the mind likes to make up that it's over, and it'll seek to a new homeostasis, which is great. Like, we are meant, oh shoot, Kai was kicked out. We are meant to, I don't know how to do that without losing the presentation, but I'm going to try. I know, I don't know why I enacted, shoot. You know what, I'm going to just have to let it go. I'm sorry, Kai. All right, so let's just all take a breath for Kai here. And I find Kai's presence incredibly powerful, and I know he is here with us. So the intensity eases up, and mine will make up that it's done. Let's start the presentation again. So homeostasis is good. I mean, that is part of the, you know, setting up the new normal. But the mind will make up the story that it's like this forever now. But here is where you can really harness the sequence, is that shock is coming again. To know that, like, yeah, I'm kind of getting a break right now, and I'm setting up a new homeostasis. And like, I learned some things in this cycle. You know, I came up with new tools. I have new awareness, and I can carry that forward with me into the next cycle. And this is what enables the grace to start to come in more and more every single cycle. So my suggestion is that during this time, when things ease up, and we are in it right now, because next month is a shock month with the fall equinox. This is a great time to take stock of what you've learned in the last 2 months. And, you know, what tools have you discovered? What awareness, what insight, what did you remember? And, you know, support yourself in practicing that, you know, even practicing remembering, you know, however that works for you, by sharing it with other people, by writing it down. This is one of the ways I prepare, is I teach. So this is how it has very literally been applied in my life. So when your spirit requires you to get on your knees, like, if that is just an imperative of your existence, your embodied existence, if you do not bow, life will drive you to your knees. And this has been so literally true for me. Like, it literally will end up on the floor, on the ground, just like, please, like, just begging the mothership to come and get me. So I discovered through an invitation from my coach, Kendra Kunov, that I literally am being asked to bow down to the earth and to life and mother herself, to put my head all the way to the ground. And this is one of my practices now. And so it's like, I'm just saying, like, okay, life, okay, spirit, like, I'll get down and I will worship you. Like, you don't, I'll go willingly, basically. I love this meme. What do you mean I'm back on earth? This is how I have felt for most of my life. And this is how I imagined I was when I was a baby. But I actually think I was really stoked to be here. So if you could choose you know, would it be to activate your capacity to fulfill your purpose in this lifetime, or to take another lap or 100 around the hell train of forgetting loop? You know, and this is where I see, like, there are things like for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, we just like, you know, we'll get into a lifetime and we're like, oh, I'll try to avoid that, you know, like with unconsciousness, right? And then what does spirit do? It just brings us right into the next situation. And it has been building that momentum, like on earth in humanity, very much like how I described that initiations can build up and trauma can build up in our system, to where like we have put off so much that we're really like working on the mother load right now. And so I'm not really sure that we do have a choice, but for me and for Grace, I find to actually choose here, like to be aware of this, like I am choosing to get on my knees. Like I'm not going to because I already know life makes me get on my knees if I don't just get down. And so whatever that is for you, I'm not sure if we get to put it off. I'm not sure what happens if we don't do this with grace. But for me, I want the grace. So whatever you choose is okay. And then this is what I was saying. Whatever you choose is okay. I'm not sure if you have a choice, you know, but as far as your perception of it, it's all good. And I want to ask you if you can feel, if you have already made this choice. So that actually may seem like it's choiceless, but for me, I feel I already made the choice. I made the choice long before I came in. And so I played with a little timeline here. There's like, before birth, I decided, like, you know what, this is the lifetime. That's it. You know, I am totally heaven on earth or bust. And, you know, and then right before being born, baby on deck. Oh, this will be so fun. I can totally handle it. I'll remember, no problem. That's the sense I get of my spirit. It was like a little cocky. And then I was born into the perfect environment to awaken my purpose and complete my past. And that was certainly a shock for me, especially that I was born in a shock transit. And it's humbling, right? And especially as you forget and you develop in that environment. So you experience contrast and try to survive and establish an equilibrium by storing initiations in the body. This is where we're like, you know, our environment, our parents, our cultures, like telling us that we have to be a certain way, projecting that upon us, you know, forcing us to do it. And so to survive, we, you know, do our best to become what we need to be in that environment, which isn't necessarily who we really are and who we're here to be. And then, you know, we awaken, and there's a lot of that going on in this this timeline we're on. We reach a capacity of storage of who we are not, and we have a shock that catalyzes a great release and download. Just want to make sure I realize my ignition was turned on, so my car still starts. Speaking of shock. And then, you know, we question it because it fucking is intense and it hurts. And we try to go back to old tools of avoiding pain. And here's the massive caveat that I bring with my work is there really is no turning back. Like once you step onto this awakening journey, you can't unsee what you saw. And once these initiations begin to integrate in your system, your mind may be really freaked out and want to go back and really, really try. And but it's never going to quite work for you the way it did in the past. It's too late. So it's pretty much heaven on earth or bust, and a vibe of willing to do whatever it takes. So I am just getting to check in with something here. Okay. It looks like we're still rolling. I just want to make sure we're still, like, that would be really funny if I was just talking to myself. Wouldn't be the first time. So a great shift is coming in human design. We recognize, 2027, we have a big shift in the background frequency. We're going from a collective imperative to cooperate, which has had us all like, basically like compromising who we are to create the systems that support us on, massive levels. And we're moving into an individual frequency. And so, the prediction is that like all these systems are going to come crashing down, and some of them already are. And so right now in the greater sequence of initiation, we are in prepare. So, there are these smaller cycles. There's the ones with the seasons, with the equinoxes and the solstices. Those are the shock months. And the subsequent integrate and prepare. There are, little smaller ones. You may have a cycle in a day, and like for someone like me, like they're just they happen all the freaking time because I carry initiation. But like on the big level, on the big cycle, a big shift is coming for everybody. And so let's see, I think the key to survival it's a funny word, but I think it's the point across, is to be yourself and to relate with others with respect for life. So to be able to respect who you are and relate with another, cooperate, collaborate, create with another, with, while also respecting who they are. That we are not asking each other to homogenize, because it's just not, it will not work anymore. It will quickly decline, and it has not been working that great anyway. There's a great video out by Matt Kahn talking about, I think the topic is choosing to be here, and he speaks to this like perfectly, beautifully, and with great humor. I highly recommend to check it out. Okay, so I'm going to move into talking about witness, and also the witness that we are providing, and the support that we are providing in becoming the gift you are. So yeah, this is essentially a sales pitch, and it's, I have a lot of people with the channel of surrender, which is also the channel of the salesperson in my life right now. And I just really love the wisdom of this channel, which is that, and I have half of it, which is that this is about selling something to people, to further the tribe, so they have the resources they need to survive. In the case of like the kind of being I am, carrying a mutation and suggesting a mutation, I'm going to check in again. This might not be the video that I I share the recording for ultimately, but I will send it to you guys. Zoom. Okay. I think we're still going. Just saw that my Zoom attendees were waiting. Okay, 30. We're an hour in here. It's pretty good, actually, considering how long it took to get going. So here's some things that people have said about working with me and this group. And I want to say that I very much see my role is to start Innerglowing Quantum Academy, to found it essentially, and to support the first waves of people coming through, to come up to speed with who they are, so they can then serve the next layers and the next layers and the next layers. So this very much is a preparation to have this organization in place that is that can accommodate the individual in a tribe. So a support system better than I could imagine by myself has surrounded me. I am in awe. And these first two are from two people who are actually in Becoming the Gift You Are right now. There's no other coaches community, famous or otherwise, that I would rather be a part of than yours. Thank you. And welcoming your gifts with the intersection of sharing the gifts of others to help your people find the true goodness of their own gifts. This came from Karen Perry, and she actually wrote me. She said, "Oh, you're such a dream." And I said, tell me about how I'm a dream. And she wrote this long thing. This was one of the bullet points, the dream that you are. And this was one of them. So we've got you getting this, you've got this. And really a huge part of all this is to, get to practice in a safe space, because when you're a walking trigger zone, when you have some triggers you need to release, you have trauma you need to release, but then you go into your family or just the world or whatever, the checker, Facebook, open Facebook, open internet. Well, you're going to be triggering the release through the shock and the initiation that you may be very much wanting, but like among people who are not prepared to hold you. So I want to say it's absolutely possible to rise from the mud as your own lotus on the trajectory to embody your ever expanding essence. It absolutely is possible. And there are times where you may feel very alone, but you can actually choose to engage in community and let it be, give yourself a space where you can be a little messy. And this is a co-created container. This is so important. It's not like I set this up and now you come in and follow my rules. Like any person who, like, even just by considering it, or wanting to be in it, you begin to influence the container to be customized for you. Becoming the gift you are. Okay, so I just came up with these last night and I'm really excited. I mean, these are our plans for how you can currently be a part of the constellation. Now, I'm going to teach, I think, 2 more classes before we close enrollment. And I'm going to offer different things every time. I mean, I think I am. So, here are some bonuses that add on for you to, if you go through the process of applying for a consult call with me and we get on the phone and we talk, then I would love to add these on to the packages. So you can just check that out here. For the Constellation Circle, if you're going at the monthly level, I'll give you a private session with me. And that's really an initiation ceremony is what it usually ends up to be. If you pay in full, you get to also have a gift membership for someone you would really love to journey with you for a year. And if you join the Inner Council, and this is, yes, it's a big commitment. In addition to everything else that is being offered, and actually it's 22 sessions, I think, with me. I didn't get the right screenshot because I updated on the website, but I'm developing something called a human design tribal report that you can use for your family, a team, or a business. And this gives you like an overview of the tribe that you're with. And, for business, like you can know, like, oh my gosh, looky here. Like all my people on my team or my clients are emotional. Good to know. So there's an analysis that comes with that, and connections in with your team support to receive and integrate that information. So I'll be emailing those of you who are registered for this a link to fill out the application to have a consult call with me, and If you do decide to come in as a result of this being here and registering for this call, then I would love to offer these bonuses for you. Our mission is GLOW. Innerglowing Quantum Academy is a floating spaceship of seekers and teachers. Get on board and navigate your innerverse, exploring trauma, human design, authentic cues, and all the other planets in your divine orbit. The answer I offer is be you, want what you want, and love yourself for that. And, you know, simple but not easy, and great to have a constellation of support that's really aligned with you. And I just put the slide in here again because I really, really love it. And I think that may be the end. That is the end. So thank you for being here. I'm going to stop the recording as promised, but I do think I probably will be I will be re-recording this in a more stable environment than the first time. Here we go. Stop share. Okay. Stop recording.